Welcome back, everyone, to the Frosty Canucks podcast. I'm your host, Jason, along with Steve.
Hi.
What?
Trust me, everything else I was thinking of was too inappropriate to say as the intro. I mean, I'm not worried about like Spotify or Anchor. I don't want YouTube to fucking delete our podcast.
But why would you be worried about YouTube? They can't dislike our videos.
Yeah, but they can still be shitheads. So they always go after small people because they know they can't fight back. God damn.
But they're removing the dislike button for the small creators, not the big businesses.
There's no way that was because of the big businesses or the fact that YouTube themselves have two of the most disliked videos on the platform. Actually, probably more than that now, but they had
Yes, their YouTube rewinds.
Yeah, their YouTube rewinds every year get completely obliterated because everyone thinks they're just these toothless corporate just shit shows.
I mean, they used to be okay, and then they just, as you said, made them shittier over time.
I don't know about okay. I mean, your bar for okay might be a lot lower than mine is. Let's see here. Most disliked videos on YouTube. I didn't even have to finish fucking typing that sentence. I put most dis, and it came up. YouTube Rewind 2018 is still the most disliked video on the entire website.
That makes sense.
It has 19.67 million dislikes. That gives it a ratio of 86.55% dislike. That's a video that's overwhelmingly negative, right? Baby Shark's number 2. It has 14.45 million dislikes, but it's only 31.51%. So it's got a little under a 7, just under a 70% approval rating. That's not so bad. Static 2 trailer has almost a 100% dislike. It has 13.64 million dislikes, 94.86% disliked. The Beebs is here. I remember he was number 1 for a while with Baby. Remember that hit from...
Yeah, from my high school that I hated.
Yeah. 12.4 million dislikes, 38.92%. So that's not so bad. Both of the music videos on here, Baby Shark and Baby, both of those are relatively positive still. Those are the YouTube Rewind and Static though. Those are fucking, that's awful. Oh yeah, another music video, Johnny Yes Papa. I have no idea what the fuck that. I don't even know what that is.
A meme. If you look at it, it is it's basically just horror. It's I believe it's Indian animated cartoons.
It's an English nursery rhyme.
It is terrifying.
Oh, here we go. And then number 6 is YouTube Rewind 2019. Is there other YouTube Rewinds on here? Oh, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare trailers on here. Nice, I know what that is. Why is Gangnam Style on? Is this because it was popular? It only has 2.8 million, or almost 3 million dislikes. It's not even that disliked.
It's not
got
even,
89%.
Yeah, but if you look at the view count on that, that's ridiculous.
Doesn't it have a bajillion views? It was big shit. I want to say my second or third year of college.
2012.
So I didn't really know what it was. I heard about it and I'm like, oh, this is a catchy song. And a bunch of people were like, I hate this. And I'm like, oh, that's catchy. But I guess the fact that I hadn't even heard about it until after it had already gone past its peak, I think is probably why I wasn't super annoyed by it.
I just find this decision funny because now people will think that the Nintendo Switch online expansion pack was a good thing.
Oh, yeah, or all of those fucking videos from Biden. It's actually hilarious. If Trump could have, I'm sure he would have pressed YouTube more for this shit. But it's very funny to me that it's the Biden administration that's in charge right now. That's the one that's being like, no, you gotta censor this shit. Because every time the fucking Biden puts out a video on YouTube, it just gets massively disliked. It's fucking hilarious.
I can't say I've listened to any of those, but I know that anything that's on CTV, COVID-wise, gets bombarded with dislikes regardless of the material in it.
Is CTV? Is that one of the conservative networks?
No, I think it's just one of the Canadian television. I don't know.
Aren't most of the Canadian television networks owned by conservative lobby groups?
Not a clue.
Anyway, this is a video game podcast.
The only other thing I wanted to mention about the whole dislike, apparently that Nintendo online expansion pack video is Nintendo's most disliked video on YouTube.
Yeah, of course.
On their whole entire channel. So.
Yeah. Fucking, that's bullshit. Of course it's the most disliked thing on their fucking channel.
I know.
Nothing else Nintendo has done has been this asinine. Ever.
Very true.
Ever. They've never done anything this stupid before. The expansion pack for Switch Online is the most egregiously stupid thing they've ever done.
Yeah.
It's complete dog shit.
Anyway, as you said, yes, this is a video game podcast.
Yes, and with it being a video game podcast, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about this week. What are we talking about this week, Jason?
Did we want to talk about the cockroach game?
Who out there is still buying Skyrim? Who are you? Who the fuck are you people?
I don't.
Stop giving Todd Howard money for this fucking game. This game came out in my first year of college. I've been working in industry for almost 10 years now. Stop buying this fucking game.
Me too. It was out in my first year of university.
Like, I graduated college and have been working in industry for almost a decade. This game has been re-released several times since then. Who is buying this garbage still? Who the fuck are you people?
New console, new...
I guess it's the thing, is like on PC, people just like modded it if they want to play it again. Like Miranda's played through it, like, well, I say that. She's never actually finished the game, but like whenever she picks it up, she installs a bunch of mods and then plays the game with like new mods. That's how she plays. These other chuckle fucks are just playing the same ass game over and over again.
I know, it doesn't
Not
make
modding
sense.
into new content. I mean, the remastered version came out, which was just Bethesda taking a bunch of mods. They actually did. They took fucking mods off of Nexus Mod, dumped them into the full package with the game, and then just sent it out like that.
That was free.
They did almost
free.
no. Yeah, exactly. Well, it is free. Like, obviously, people who are making mods can't charge money for them, right? But like, it's hilarious to me how like little effort went into it. And they're like, oh yeah, instead of fixing like all these game-breaking bugs, which there are mods for. There are mods that are extension mods that will do exception handling, because Bethesda games are just fucking broken shit. No. We're gonna make the water look better and the trees. These are the things that make video games better. Great water. Fucking hell.
I mean, in some video games, that's the make or break for it. I mean, could you imagine playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag and the water shit, or Sea of Thieves and the water just looks like ass? The thing you spend most of your time navigating through.
Looking at? I mean, sure, but also, like, the game should be more, like, the fact that Sea of Thieves had beautiful water did not save it at launch, because that's the only thing it had. It had beautiful water and no content, so no one wanted to play it.
So yeah, this game's coming out again. $50 USD.
Oh my god.
If you owned the special edition version and you want to upgrade to the anniversary edition, it'll cost you $20. It's not even the $10 that Sony's charging for their upgrades. It's a whole 20 USD, so about like 25 Canadian. And then you get to play Skyrim on your PS5 or the PS4 version, I guess. I don't know. It's so stupid.
So, obviously, our viewers can't see me right now. Presently, I have my...
Are you facepalming?
Not facepalming, but it's what I do instead. I don't facepalm because you don't want to touch my hand with my fucking to my face. But like, I have my thumb on my one eyebrow and my ring finger on the other one, and I'm doing that thing where you push them out a little bit. I've got a face, like that wincing face that people make when they do that. It's kind of like a face palm, but it's not. I don't know if it has a name.
I don't know. But I get what you mean.
Quintessential disappointed dad face. Like, that's what my face looks like right now. I don't have words for how stupid this goddamn garbage is.
Oh, it came out today. What a day to remember.
You know what the worst part is? There are people who have already bought this shit. 100%. Motherfuckers out there who bought this garbage already.
I mean, probably.
It wouldn't keep releasing it if people didn't keep buying it.
I don't surprisingly see it at the top of Twitch, so that's actually a good sign. But anyway, it's the cockroach that'll never ever fucking go away. And we're never gonna get the sequel.
Like, genuinely. So, here's the thing. The plan seems to have been that The Elder Scrolls Online was supposed to be, like, the next big thing for The Elder Scrolls following Skyrim. It didn't take off the way it was supposed to, and because of that, I feel like Bethesda's just been like, well, fuck, what do we do?
We need to make our money back.
They need to keep putting updates to the MMO to make it somewhat successful, and I feel like over time they've generated some amount of success with it, but it, like, that type of game doesn't provide the experience that people are looking for from the Elder Scrolls games. There's still a lot of people who will not play that game,
seeing
right?
As how it had to change its whole model around from being the paid subscription model to like paid expansions instead. I mean,
that was an inevitability, but
Well, I mean, I just mean in terms of like, yeah, that kind of measures its success because you got games like Final Fantasy 14 online that is able to do both.
So it's about World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that too.
I assume they were expecting that game to be much bigger than it was, and when it wasn't, they were like, "Well, what do we do now?" And they just keep re-releasing Skyrim. That's what they're gonna do. Just keep shitting out Skyrim. But yeah, I have to imagine that company has been pretty slammed with development because they're working on Starfield for God only knows how many years. Apparently building that in like a new version of the creation engine. I'll kind of believe what that statement means when I see what that statement means. And then obviously the MMO needs to have constant updates because if you don't constantly update an MMO, people will just leave it en masse. So
yeah, I think it was Todd Howard was talking about like we got ideas for Fallout 5, Fallout 6. I can't remember anymore.
5. I think 76 was considered a spin-off.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I'm misremembering. Yeah,
No, it's technically Fallout 5, but whatever.
Yeah. So.
Well, technically Fallout 6 if we're counting spin-offs, but because New Vegas exists, that was technically Fallout 4, but...
oh no, now we're getting into semantics.
People get really upset when I call Fallout New Vegas Fallout 4. It's a spin-off game! Like, why would you call Borderlands 3 Borderlands 4? Yes.
Would you call God of War on the PS4 like God of War 7 or 8? Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking Uncharted 4... Thief's End is like the fucking 5th or 6th Uncharted game. Like, don't at me. I don't give a shit if this is a spin-off game. Fucking.
Oh, yeah, like the Goal in the Abyss.
The only reason it's considered a spin-off game is because the spin-off games didn't do well. So they're, it's a spin-off game.
Yeah, there was the one on the Vita. That one was actually pretty decent.
You want to know what a spin-off game actually looks like? Fucking Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. It's completely fucking different. It uses Pokemon characters, but it's a completely fucking different game.
Mm-hmm.
New Vegas is a Fallout game. And like the most Fallout-ass Fallout game. Fucking Borderlands, the pre-sequel, is just more fucking Borderlands. Fucking all this Uncharted shit is just more of that lame-ass platforming movie shooting shit. Ass shots.
Gratuitous ass shots?
Gratuitous ass shots. You know what else is a good example of a spin-off game? Fucking like Hyrule Warriors. That's a spin-off game. Completely fucking different from Legend of Zelda.
I mean, to be fair, every Warriors game is
the same shit.
It's the same shit. So.
Same shit.
Different license.
Same old fucking shit.
I mean, there's something fun about the 1 versus 1,000 kind of gameplay.
Yeah, well, that's just it. If you like that style of game, it doesn't matter. It's the same old fucking shit every single time. You just enjoy playing. I know Maz, frequent asker of questions and friend of the show. He likes Dynasty Warrior games. He plays quite a few of them. I don't know if he plays all of them, but I know he plays a fair number of them. And he, generally speaking, seems to enjoy most of them, except when they rock the boat too much. And he's like, I don't like the new stuff as much. And then everyone who's like, this series needs to change, they just hate the new stuff. And he's like, well, fucking, what was the point of implementing it if all the people who are like, this series never changes, just complain about the new stuff anyway? Like,
like in 9?
So,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I can understand that. It did kind of rock the boat a little bit too much.
I mean, Pokemon's probably going to be the same goddamn thing.
Oh, that's a good point.
Man,
actually.
what's that?
Yeah.
Legends Arceus. When that shit comes out, I half expect some people to be like, this is the greatest thing ever. Oh, not half. Like, some people say this is the greatest thing ever. And some people to complain about it just because. And then another group of people to complain about it because it's not the same thing that they're used to.
It's too action-oriented.
Well, from everything I've seen, it looks like it's the same old shit. It's just in a different perspective. I'll be very interested to see what actually comes out of that game. From what they've shown, it looks like it's fundamentally the same game. You know, more open space, which I always feel never works for Pokemon. It's the more big they make the world, the more empty it always feels.
Yeah, you don't like open worlds.
Not particularly.
But at least the trainer blacking out will actually finally make sense. It's always so weird when
Pokemon beat your ass?
Yeah, because like the trainer could get like electrocuted by like one of the bigger monsters or something like that I've seen in trailers. Because you know,
you don't black out in the English games though. It's translated to whiting out.
Oh, sorry.
Which doesn't mean anything, but I think the idea is there that your Pokemon are all passed out and you, like, run away.
You faint at the sight of their deaths?
No, like, you
I know what you mean,
pick up your shit and, like, pay the trainer and then you run back to the Pokemon Center. It'd be a huge pain in the ass if you had to actually, like, walk back, so that game just teleports you.
It's your shame walk, like the one you do after a Halloween party.
What the fuck Halloween parties do you go to?
No, I mean, isn't there like the walk of shame after like I've seen that on sitcoms? I don't know. I don't go to Halloween parties.
Every Halloween party I've gone to, I show up in my normal clothing. When people ask what I am, I say I'm a homeless person, and I sit around drinking alcohol the entire time to further accentuate my homeless person look. That's probably actually extremely offensive to say on the podcast.
Oh god. Should I edit that out?
No.
Anywho, I guess there was that whole Marvel's Avengers thing. We haven't really talked about that over the last month or so. The short story is it's in the news again because the game industry is punching bag for the last year or so since its release.
Everyone got bored of beating up Fallout 76 because the team there actually spent time improving the game, and it's no longer in a complete disaster state anymore.
Yeah, there's like people in the world now instead of it just being an empty, bland nothing.
I can't even imagine what they were thinking of when they released that game, but anyway. So yeah, everyone's moved on to, okay, what's the next new... So it was like No Man's Sky, and then it was Fallout 76, and now it's Avengers. So it's like, what's the next really terrible game that we can just fucking beat up and no one will ever challenge us on it? It's Avengers.
More or less, yeah. They are trying to put out more content, but for every win that they get, they slap themselves back with a loss.
Yeah, I feel like there's, I don't know, because there's one of the things, you put out a whole list of different things that have happened. I feel like you said that one of the updates, they made the game grindier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then they added like a paid feature in to make grinding for EXP easier, even though they said they were never going to do that.
Yeah, so they went on record saying we aren't gonna make this like pay to win, guys. In the game, it's mostly it is just PvE, players versus the enemies and stuff like that. So you're just in like on teams and stuff like that, beating up the waves and stuff in the game, from what I remember of the game. But if you buy this EXP stuff, you'll get a boost in the amount of experience that you're gonna get, and that makes the game less grindy, and that makes you a better player. So it's
That's not pay to win. Pay to win is when they sell power. They're not selling power. That's not pay to win. What they're doing is still really shitty, though, where they made the game more tedious and are like, please buy this thing, which is like Ubisoft's fucking model with their single-player games now. Just make them just boring as fuck, so you'll pay to skip the game that you paid $70 to play. Like, I feel like the big problem is that this is like Disney-owned property, right?
Yeah, more or less, because that'd be the license from Marvel.
So I assume Disney's like, oh, you have to do that. Like,
I don't know. Disney was pretty pissed off when the EA did the whole Battlefront 2 stuff.
No, they were not.
They weren't?
They were pissed off. No, there is a quote. I might find it for the post that goes out with this. There was a quote where a Disney representative said, we are extremely happy with how EA is handling the Star Wars license following the launch of Battlefront 2.
That's news to me.
They were not unhappy with that at all. They were quite pleased because EA was milking the shit out of people. They were getting a fuckload of a kickback from it.
I was under the impression that they were just the backlash from it was what they were mad about. Maybe
they were upset about that when that ended up happening. Like when the legislation and fucking government people were talking, oh, like blah, like this is so bad.
Yeah, okay.
Which is weird because nothing ever happened. I think
that's what I meant. Yeah.
In general, they were overwhelmingly pleased with how EA was handling the Star Wars license because they were making a shitload of money.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because the development costs were relatively low, and the amount of money that they made on sales and in microtransactions after the game was launched was extremely high.
Yeah, it was weird. Even people in my office that typically don't play video games were like,
they saw Star Wars, and they're like, I bought the Star Wars game.
I'm going to buy a PS4, and I'm like, what? You never play games or never talk about them. But yeah, Star Wars. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, okay. So I
saw that as well. And then people who are like not super game centric. There's a story I heard one time where this guy was like, he was very casually into video games. He's talking to someone who was really like involved in the industry. He's like, yeah, like I don't know, man, games are like so expensive now. And the guy's like, well, what do you mean? Because they've been like $60 forever. And I was like, yeah, well, it's like $60 and you get in the game, and it's like, you gotta buy like $100 of shit.
Mm-hmm.
This guy didn't like realize that these were supposed to be like optional purchases. He just looked at them and was like, oh, I guess I have to buy this extra stuff so I can enjoy the game to the fullest. I gotta imagine there's a not insignificant like number of those types of people playing the fucking Star Wars game.
Yeah. Oh, the expansion pass? I have to buy that.
Yeah, or even just looking at the thing and being like, oh, there's crates to get the unlocks. I guess I have to buy some of these crate things to get some better skills.
Could you imagine someone spending like $1,000 and be like, this is okay?
I don't think it'd go that far. It might just be like, oh, I just spent like $20-$30 and be like, oh, I got some better skills now. Woohoo, yay. So I don't know if you know this, but if you spend money on crates in games, they'll typically give you better odds than if you got them for free.
I mean, that makes sense. From a business point of view, yeah.
Yeah, well, so back when I played Duelist before it got taken offline forever, that's a card game.
Yeah.
I'd played the game for like 50 or 60 hours by this point. So I'm like, oh, I want to throw the developers some money. So I spent like $10 on card packs. I got so many good cards out of the fucking paid card packs. I got dog shit in most of my free unlocks, but those paid packs, holy shit. I got some fucking great like epic and legendary tier cards in those fucking card packs. And I'm like, oh, hey, when you spent money, you got like better cards. You should buy more packs. Which, being familiar with that sort of stuff, it was very transparent to me what was happening. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to spend any more money on this. But
yeah, even though the odds are supposed to be fair, but yeah, we don't have to display.
They're fair. They're saying you paid money and we're rewarding you for paying money.
Not what I meant.
Here's some more
I
shit.
meant when you open up one pack, it's the same versus... Never mind.
Typically, if you spend money on a game, for the first little bit, the game will usually try and reward you with extra shit.
Oh yeah, it's positive reinforcement for the behavior that they want.
Yeah, and then once they have you to a point where they believe that the behavior is a habit, then they'll cut back to the same as everything else, which is pretty shitty, and that's part of why there's been legislation that's like, oh, you have to display the odds of stuff on the boxes, because then it'd be very transparent that it's like, oh yeah, the odds they're changing literally all the time based on an algorithm in the background, like an AI controlled algorithm in the background that's determining how likely it is to convince you that they'll make you spend money. That's not something I made up. That is a thing that has been patented. Look it up.
Well, I mean, there's algorithms out there that's like, well, this game is worth like $6 to this person, but it would be worth like $2 to this person, and like having the ability to cater to like, okay, I want to get every single person interested in buying this game. What is the ideal price based off of their like profile, essentially?
Yeah. It's one of the things that actually. So like, I don't think that's a terrible way of doing things. You can look at people and be like, what's my target demographic? What is the price point that they're likely to buy this game at? And then you can price the game so that you make, like, your company will make the most money, which I don't think is a bad thing. And then you can set, like, your sales tiers and your price drops over time so you can actually, like, collect the ideal amount of sales.
The way it was being used was being really scummy, where it was just going, like, at this same point, this person will buy it today at $6 if you give them that option, but then like here you'll do it at $2 on the same day. So it's like, what? That's scummy.
Yeah, but it's like one of those things where it's like companies have so much fucking data on us, and I find by and large most of them will just not use it at all. Like,
data's hard to handle.
Google is the biggest data collector on the planet, and for some reason, whenever I'm logged in and watching YouTube videos on my phone, they always show me ads for a Google phone. I will never, ever, ever buy a Google phone. It's a premium price phone. I only buy cheap garbage phones. That's what I do. They should know that. So there's no reason to advertise this product to me at all. I am not the target demographic for it.
$1,000 on a brand new Galaxy or Google phone?
My current smartphone cost $150 and I bought it outright. I've had it for like 5 years. It's so old. I don't even know if it can run the current version of Android. Like, that's how old it is.
Probably not. That's when I had to upgrade. I had to upgrade my phone roughly at the same point where my company was just like, yeah, this is the lowest version that our software or our app will be available for. And I'm like, okay, shit.
Work's not paying for my phone, so they can't tell me what to do with it. But yeah, my phone can still take phone calls, do SMS, and it runs Discord. So I'm like, all right, this is what a phone needs to do. Hey, what the fuck were we talking about before?
Avengers.
Oh, yeah. The video game industry's whipping boy.
But so, yeah. The end of the story was that they backed down after all the players were kind of ripping them a new one.
I don't see a future where this game is ever successful. Genuinely, I feel like they completely missed the fucking boat just because of all of the red tape that was involved with getting the license and making the game.
I mean, they're just adding in the Spider-Man one that they've been talking about for like a year or two. It's crazy. Yeah,
I feel like this game had to come out before Endgame.
Yeah, it was late to the market.
Yeah, just they lost that windfall.
If it was Endgame, like, or a month or two after Endgame, when it was still in theaters, and it had the same character models as the movie instead of
that would never happen. There's no fucking that would make the game too expensive.
I'm aware, but it might have helped.
Fucking hell. Because, like, all the Star Wars games released around a Star Wars movie. That's strategic planning, because you get free marketing off that shit.
That's what Warner Brothers is going to do with the Hogwarts Legacy game. Apparently, it's coming out right after or around the same time as the next...
whatever the fuck that stupid-ass fucking shithead thing with the doofus and his creatures is.
Yes, that movie.
I don't think those movies are good. I think those movies are fucking ass.
I didn't mind the first one. I hated the second one.
I thought the first one was very, very mediocre, and the second one was very bad.
Oh yeah, no, that one was very bad. Both Sarah and I walked out the theater and we just looked at each other and went, "That was shittier than the first one, right?"
Yeah, no, I watched the first one because I go and watch movies with my dad quite a bit. But ever since I started dating Miranda, I've gone to more movies with her. So she wanted to see it because she's like, I kind of enjoyed the first one and I liked the creatures. And there's basically like no creatures in the second ass movie.
It missed all the interesting parts about it. Its world.
Yeah, instead it was just like, it's doing the Star Wars thing. You know, the Star Wars thing where it's like, hey, you know how we have this like this story that people really love? Let's over-explain how we got to that story. And just take all the mystery out of it. Like, you want to know about what Dumbledore was like before he was old and wise? Bam! We'll show you Dumbledore before he was old and wise. No, I don't give a fuck about that.
No, you do.
It's a joke. There's a joke from a comedian. He's making fun of George Lucas because George Lucas is obviously the best example for this. He's like, "Have you ever bought ice cream from George Lucas?" You know, George Lucas comes up to you. He's like, "Hey, you like ice cream?" "Yeah, I like ice cream." And he hands you a bucket of cream and some ice cubes, and you're like, "George, what the fuck is this?" He's like, "Well, that's a box of cream and ice cubes, and when you mix them together, you get ice cream." It's like, what the fuck? I like ice cream when it's made. I don't want to know how to make ice cream. What the fuck?
That's good.
The comedian obviously does a better job of telling the joke. I can't remember what the comedian's name was, which is really bad because he is genuine. That whole bit is super fucking funny. Obviously, what he's getting at is the fact that people really like Star Wars 4, episodes 4 through 6, and then 1 through 3 are just like, here's how Darth Vader got created. And it's like, what the no one, he could just be. We need all the pseudoscience-ass fucking explanations for space wizards with light swords. Or how the bad guy became the bad guy. People were just willing to accept it at face value because, oh man, space wizards with light swords. This is awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, so this Harry Potter fucking thing is exactly the same way. And I'm not surprised they're planning to release that completely unrelated game at the same time. Because, it's Harry Potter. It'll ride off. That's fundamentally, I feel like that's a big reason why the Avengers game will never be successful. I feel like the Avengers are done now. They're gone. They're not really gone, but they're gone. All the natural marketing this game could have had was completely wasted by the time it came out. Yep. It wasn't very fun, but I don't think it was ever going to be very fun because it's just fucking...
I mean, the funniest part about all this is the fact that Square Enix went on record to saying, you know what, Crystal Dynamics, they might not have been the best choice for this game.
Gee, you don't say.
Really?
You don't say that the development studio that has no experience developing live service games was a bad fit for this.
When will you learn?
Never.
It's the same thing with EA and BioWare. It's the exact same.
Oh, wow. Don't tell me the fucking company that made nothing but RPGs for like 25 years made a bad live service game. Wow. Now, granted, BioWare Austin did make Knights of the Old Republic, but then in that fucking Jason Schreier takedown of BioWare, he's like, yeah, the Edmonton studio is just like, fuck you, Austin, Texas. You're the B team. We know best. Who cares if you have 10 years experience developing an RPG in a live service environment?
Yeah. Every so often you want to go reread that because it's just this masterpiece of,
man, it's fantastic.
An article.
It takes like 3.5 hours to read through. Oh, I read slow, but it takes me a really long time to read through it.
It's a long piece, but it is well worth the effort to read it.
It's very interesting, if nothing else. I don't feel like the Avengers will ever really... I mean, you can turn games around, but I feel like...
one of them.
Well, I feel like each turnaround story is less successful than the previous, I guess. Rainbow Six Siege was like a really big turnaround for Ubisoft, turning that game that was launched, like it launched in not a really good state. And then after several updates and years of support, people really warmed up to it. And it has a very vibrant competitive scene and competitive community. There's people who still play that game casually. So that game recovered, right? Final Fantasy XIV, same dealio. It launched. It was a complete shit show. Now it's. I don't know if it's as big as World of Warcraft, but it's like the only MMO that could feasibly, at least outside of a Chinese one, that could challenge Blizzard's dominance in that field. But then Fallout 76. I don't feel like that was as big of a turnaround. I'm trying to think of some other examples. There's probably some that I'm.
There's
like
the No Man's Sky
that I'm forgetting, but No Man's Sky is a little bit of a different beast because that is a single player game. It didn't have a need to turn around. That was entirely Hello Games making sure that the next time they launch a game, people will actually buy it. Instead of not at all.
I mean, Anthem was the first big fail.
Yeah, Anthem completely fucking face-palmed.
No 2.0.
Evolve face-palmed.
Evolve tried.
Yeah, and like it never made it. It farted out after the fucking
I wonder how we're gonna
free-to-play launch on Steam.
Back 4 Blood to dealing with this kind of problem.
No, I don't think so. So I didn't like it, obviously. But player count-wise, it's doing fine. Okay. There was like an article where someone's like, oh, look at it. Back 4 Blood has less players on Steam than fucking Left 4 Dead 2. And I'm like, yeah, but like, it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, that is helping.
Who in their right mind is going to buy this game and play it on Steam when it's on Game Pass?
Yeah, good point.
So, Thomas, I know you're going to feel attacked because you bought it. In his case, it makes sense to do that because he's going to be playing it for probably several months. So it would be cheaper to probably get it.
That always makes sense.
By buying it outright.
You've bought in games you said that you really enjoyed because you didn't want to have to pay for Game Pass every month.
Yeah, I bought Star Renegades that way and played it for like 50 or 60 hours. So
yeah, there's a place for always buying a game.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where just looking at those numbers and then being like, whoa, okay, but like just look at how much worse this game is doing. It's like, okay, but that's not really the full picture. And the full picture is like there's a lot of data that is either unknown or left out of those numbers in that comparison, right?
Yep.
Presenting the data like, oh, look at how badly this is doing is, I think, pretty disingenuous. But, if you listen to last episode, I don't like this game. So I'm being very nice to it right now by not shitting on it. Very nice.
It does have a roadmap out, though, for some new stuff.
I'm sure it does. It's not a very content-rich experience, so...
I assume you've not played it a single time since last time?
Oh, God, no.
Okay, I figured.
Oh, okay, so we recorded on the Thursday. I played with Thomas on the day afterward, but after that, I didn't play it at all, so... Charlie didn't want to pick it up, and then, last Friday would have been the last Friday, because my subscription ends, tonight, so last Friday would have been the last Friday I could play, and Thomas was, he was busy, so we couldn't play through. Probably could have gotten through the rest of the campaign. Every Friday night we just play for a couple hours. We banged through an entire block of the campaign. So, but Charlie just didn't have any interest in playing it at all. So we ended up playing the Monster Hunter Rise demo. Get into that. Yeah, so I obviously didn't finish it. But what the fuck got us on this time?
Avengers.
I am so stupid.
Yes, this is the most sidetracked conversation ever.
Well, I mean, this. No,
it's fine.
I didn't play the Avengers game, and it's just it's super fucking boring. So I just I don't want to talk about the Avengers thing. It's just here's some things that are tangentially related that are a little more interesting. At least I think.
No, that's fair. No. So yeah, you were mentioning about the Monster Hunter Rise demo.
I was not planning on playing it because I'd already played it on Switch, so I kind of knew what was up. But Charlie was not interested in playing Back 4 Blood anymore, so he asked about the Monster Hunter Rise demo, and I said sure. So I got to play that on PC in glorious 60 FPS.
And as did I.
Yeah, I was going to say, I already know what I think about it. I wrote an entire article about it. Did you want to start?
Sure. I thought it was a pretty good demo for the most part. It had the 3 hunts, as well as the tutorial. 1 beginner hunt, 1 intermediate one, and then 1, oh my god, this is going to fuck me in the ass, hunt. So yeah, the first 2 were nice.
So yeah, the Magdamala one was just them trying to like hype up.
I know.
They call them like title monsters, the monsters on the cover of the game's box artwork. Because like the armor and the weapons you're using are super duper low rank, so they're just like not very powerful, and you're fighting a monster that is much stronger,
Yeah.
proportional to the gear you're wearing.
And you only have 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, instead of the normal 50. So like it makes the monster seem really challenging. When you actually fight it in the game, you're going to stomp a hole through. You're going to curb stomp this thing. Hands down, there's no question. I told you not to bother trying it. I think you still did.
I was curious. I wasn't doing too bad for the first 2 minutes, and then it just, like...
Yeah, because it wasn't enraged yet.
Yeah, I got raged, and then it totally just tore me a new one.
I tried that one once and was like, well, this is clearly not. This is intended for the speedrunners, and very few else. So, and speedrunners did. They did finish it. Of course they did, the crazy bastards, but...
Capcom just doesn't have a screen for that. They're just like, wait, what? No.
Yeah.
It's illegal.
I definitely enjoyed playing the game in 60 FPS. Compared to what I saw and played on the Switch version of it, you can really see and feel the difference, both in terms of the extra performance and...
the environments?
In general, the game just doesn't look like shit anymore.
Yeah, it looks fine on PC. I mean, obviously, yes, a step down from World.
Yeah, well, I think that the biggest tell that it's a step down from World is the way that the environments are actually laid out. They're a lot more simplistic and a lot more blocky than World.
Well, I mean, you can even tell that based off of the map, of how it's, like, divided up.
Yeah. It definitely feels like, just the way the maps are designed, definitely feels like there's concessions that were made for the Switch that you don't have on a proper console.
That might piss people off, but alright.
If people have made it to episode 30 of this podcast and don't know how much I despise the Switch as a console, like, who are you and why are you still listening to the podcast?
No,
honest to God.
Keep listening, please.
No, I guess just like, if you've made it this far, you're clearly not offended by what I'm saying, right? If you're the kind of person who gets easily offended by that kind of stuff being said about, like, that kind of slander,
will continue.
Yeah, it's just like it's gonna keep continuing. Just why are you still here? Like, but yeah, so it definitely, there's certain aspects, like you said, the world, and you can definitely tell that a lot of the stuff is just like, okay, this is like a higher resolution texture of a fucking Switch thing.
I know the one thing we both agreed on was the fact that switching items was a pain in the ass. Not from the shortcut wheel, but from the normal one.
People who don't know, they made a change to how the item wheel works in this. They added a second wheel that your D-pad uses, and that I don't think is customizable. So in World, you had like some things that were like commands and some things that were items in the item wheel, and the commands are all on like a separate wheel. You control the D-pad, and then the items are in their own thing. But because of that, you can't move the items around with the fucking D-pad anymore like you could in World. So it's like, I actually have to like press the fucking the shoulder button and then use the face buttons. I hate that. I hate doing that.
I did not like it.
I preferred just using the D-pad to scroll through the item wheel. But then again, by the time I was done with World, I kept most things in the radial menu anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to learn that a bit better now.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things. I couldn't customize it, or maybe you can customize it in the demo. I didn't look, but typically when I get into a Monster Hunter game, I have my radial menu, or at least with World, I have my radial menu fully kitted out with all the items I'm going to use frequently, and then I just leave the item wheel on whatever item wasn't in the radial menu that I needed for a particular hunt. So there's a particular specialized item that you need, then I'll leave it on that for the hunt, and then I just have my generic healing, mantles, summon, like the rider guy, like stuff in the radial menu.
I really liked the speed of you getting to the hunts. I liked that change, like going on the riding on the dog.
Yeah, so in World they had kind of like a prototype of that where you could ride a small critter into the hunt, but you didn't have control over it. I think having control over the dog is just better. Well, first of all, the game doesn't just taxi you to the fucking hunt. You actually have to know where you're going. But then you can take shortcuts to stuff, which the game didn't do with the auto-pathing, because it would auto-path, and you're like, well, I know where the monster's going to go. Let's go there instead of going to where it's at, because by the time I get there, it's going to run off to the area it's going to go next. Yep. This allows for that, which I think is really nice. Plus, you don't have to hold down the sprint button the entire time, which, it's like a shoulder button, so it's better on my fingers.
I did find it funny you could almost drift with the dog.
Yeah, a bit, yeah. How much mileage and slash or usage did you get with the wire bugs? This is not the first time I've interacted with them, so I figured out.
I didn't use them in an insane amount.
Okay.
I'd have to get more familiar with them. I also skipped the tutorial, so.
Yeah, I skipped the tutorial as well, but I have the benefit of having played this demo before, so I was like, oh yeah, I've seen Miranda do this thing. How do I do that? And I just figured it out. So I'm like, well, I know what 90% of these buttons do, so.
I mean, I still got on a monster and rode it into the other one, so that was fun.
Yeah, I just meant like you can use the bugs in the overworld to like climb all the vertical surfaces in the map.
Yeah, no, I know. I did try that a little bit, but I didn't bother an insane amount with it. Not for the hunts themselves. Actually, the first hunt, because I knew it was an easy one, I ended up fighting an entirely different monster. I think it was like the bear, or whatever its proper name is called.
I don't know what any of this shit's called.
And then I fought the proper lizard monster. Because I knew that, as the hunt said, it was going to be easy. And I had just gone off of fighting like Nergigante in Monster Hunter World. So.
Yeah, I know that first hunt is very, very easy. I don't even know what the creatures are called. It's like a little raptor dude.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of them in Rise. And then a bear is the other dude.
Yeah, I don't know the name because that wasn't the one I was supposed to hunt.
And then for the intermediate, it's a Rathian and a Mitsune. Oh my god, the Switch Rathian looks so bad. The one in this actually looked like the Rathian from World, so I kind of laughed. I'm like, oh my god, it actually looks so much better. The Mitsune looked a lot better too.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the first time I fought that, so that was interesting.
It's an interesting creature. I'm very excited to fight against a bunch of the new monsters that I don't know shit about. They've brought back a bunch of monsters from older games that are pretty well regarded, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun to fight against them across the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I know, I agree.
Although I'm not super duper on side with some of the changes that they made to the hunting horn, but I guess with time I will see how much of a make or break that is for me. So they shrunk down the song list, which is fine because most of the time I was only playing like two of the fucking 6 songs anyway. Mm-hmm. They made them like way more simple to play, and the whole way that the encore works is completely different. It's much faster and much flashier, and I got more people playing the weapon, which is what the change was intended to do. It's just that as somebody who actually liked the slower, more methodical way of playing a hunting horn, I'm not as keen on playing what feels like
Too bad.
It's just like a light version of the fucking light, like longsword, almost, with the way it's just like very combo heavy. Well, not like complicated combos, just keep comboing and resetting the combo over and over again. I was trying to figure out if I had understood the different wire bug moves that it has, and I went to an Eric's Gaming video, and then like during the basic moveset part, he said that so you can unlock alternative attacks for all of the weapons throughout the game and slot those in, and he said one of the alternatives lets you play the hunting horn similar to how it used to be, and I was like, oh okay, so that's about as far as I got in the video, because I'm like, this is going to be filled with fucking spoilers before I get to the information I actually want to hear, so I guess I'll just stop until I get to...
Find out in January?
Yeah, I'll figure it out in January when I play the game.
That's fair. I don't know how much you know about it then, since you said Miranda played it.
I've seen her and Will play some of the stuff, so I'm familiar with like some of the monsters that are... Like, I know Anjanath is in it. I know that in a post-launch update, they're adding Bagel back into it. Chameleos is in it.
I know nothing about the games.
There's a fucking mud beaver.
A mud beaver?
Yeah.
How Canadian?
Yeah, everyone's going to fight me on it being a beaver because it looks more like a weasel, but it's a beaver. I'm a Canadian. I know what beavers are. There's like a lot of stuff in it I still am not aware of.
That's good.
Yeah, it's just like I'd seen them doing the traversals of the walls, and I'm like, how the fuck do I do this? So I actually made a concerted effort to figure it out instead of just running to the monster and beating the shit out of the monster, which is what I had done in most of my previous forays in the demo. So that's my favorite part of the game. So.
Hunting monsters and Monster Hunter, yes.
Yeah, go figure. My favorite part of the game about hunting the game called Monster Hunter is the actual hunting of the monsters. But yeah, obviously I'm very excited for the release of Rise on PC. It's probably one of the only big budget games I was really looking forward to.
Game of the Year 2022.
I mean, maybe. Don't count it out. And you're actually going to play that with me this time instead of So Charlie wants to play it with me as well, and I'm gonna say, I know he listens to the podcast, so I'm gonna say this once so that both of you hear this. If you want to play with me, that's fine. I'm not waiting for either of you. So I'm going to play this game at my pace, which means that I will just fucking, I'm going to be playing this game, like, basically whenever I have free time to play this game. So if you guys are busy with your own shit, it don't matter to me. I'm perfectly fine with playing through this game solo. I will play with you when you are available to, but I am not going to be playing through the game with you, quote unquote.
Such a team player.
Yeah, exactly. There isn't an I in team, but there is a me.
Sure.
I can play through these games solo, and I don't mind playing through these games solo, so I will be playing through these games solo. If you guys are available to play, I will play with you, but I am not going to wait for you, because I don't care if I play this alone or with other people. I actually enjoy playing these games alone.
Well, on that note, I mean, I don't know. I was going to talk about Monster Hunter World, but I've already kind of said where I ended up last.
Yeah, but you could still talk about that a little bit
since.
more. I mean, how are you? You're playing it on the PS5 this time, right?
Well, it's the PS4 version on PS5.
Same fucking.
Yeah, I know. It has the 60 FPS, which is the biggest part.
And faster load times.
Helpful. Oh, and faster load times for sure. I hope that Capcom does a PS5 proper release, but I won't hold my breath if they choose not to.
I honestly don't see the point.
Yeah.
If you can already run the PS4 version on PS5, like, there's no point.
Well, it's just the loading time would be even like faster because some of the emulation improvements don't like make it go 100%. I've played a couple of games that have done that. Like I think I even tried the Lost Judgment, the PS4 version, because it installed itself first, and it was kind of slower than the PS5 version. Like the PS5 version didn't even have a hints or tip area. It was just, it always loaded 100%.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be the only thing that would fundamentally change, because it's just like, there's nothing they should have to do to take advantage of the new hardware. It'd just be a case of like, oh yeah, don't go to this loading screen. Just don't even put it in. Just skip that entire part. I genuinely don't think Capcom would put in that much work.
No, probably
They're
not.
the kind of company that would just be like, oh, it's the same. It's literally the exact same thing. I think you said you were playing the longsword. You're up to the Elder Dragons, but you hadn't fought them yet.
I was up to the Elder Dragons. I have fought most of the optional stuff, so I'm in that area with all the crystals.
The Elder's Recess.
Yes, thank you. So those are all monsters I fought for the first time.
So you fought everyone's favorite, Dodo. I don't know why everyone likes that fat fuck so much, but I killed him. You fought Jay Leno. Who else is native to the Elder Recess?
Oh, there's the lava.
Oh, Lava Seoth. God, that thing is so stupid. Holy shit.
That took a bit to get used to, but it was mostly...
Yeah, you just gotta, like, bring fire pods and shoot its body, or, like, after it comes out of the magma, it's still moist, so you can hit it.
Yes.
Because, like, fire damage doesn't do anything to it, but it's almost advisable to bring a fire weapon, because your fire weapon will keep it ignited constantly, so you can just keep doing raw damage to it.
Oh, that's an interesting strategy. I didn't think of that.
Yeah. If you're in a group hunt, make sure somebody brings a fire weapon and just hits the monster everywhere with a fire weapon, and then everyone else brings water weapons and beats the shit out of it.
That makes sense. I liked all those monsters in there. Nergigante was the first monster to down me in this whole playthrough. I was kind of...
Yeah, I bet he was. That. Was it with the Noob Slayer dive?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know its moveset, so... I think I had like a half my health or something like that left, and it was, yeah.
The hitbox in that is wild because it jumps up in the air and then dives down on like a bit of an angle, but the hitbox for it goes straight down. If you're underneath the monster, it still counts as you getting hit, even though the monster is like 30 feet above you and dives down. Did not cross over you at all, but its hitbox did, because its hitbox goes way the fuck under it.
I'm pretty sure that's what got me. Or I was like stunned, and then it just did its next attack, and I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah, I think in general, once you know what its attacks are, Nergigante is like one of the easiest fucking monsters, or at least one of the easiest late game monsters.
Well, yeah, you told me that Miranda says you bully that monster.
Yeah, well, like the first time I beat it, it took me like a couple of attempts. When I finally beat it, I was like almost full, like fucking like the entire time for the hunt. Now, I have fought it so many times that the improved version in Iceborne that has like a more aggressive moveset, I finished that thing in like 5 to 6 minutes. I go in alone. I don't need the cat.
Legend.
I just fucking kick its ass. It spends most of the fight on the ground. I don't need the cat if it just spends most of its time on the ground.
Oh, I guess that's a good point.
The Iceborne one is a little bit harder for that, but like the regular one, holy shit. So its whole thing is it grows like thorns, and when they're big and white, those are huge damage spots. So you just like hit them, and if it's on its legs, you just hit them and break them, it'll fall over. So you just keep bouncing back and forth and breaking its like the spines on its legs, and then it'll just fall over.
And then it'll regrow, and then back and yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
And it'll use the giant bomb when it has most of its spikes out and they've turned black, which when they're black, they're not like a hit zone. They're like a good hit zone anymore. You'll bounce off of them. And when most of them turn black, it'll roar. All of them will turn black. It'll do the dive bomb. And if you watch it after it does them, the spines fly off in a million different directions while it's doing that attack. And then it gets up afterwards and all of its spines have been reset back to neutral. You know that move is coming when most of its shit has been hardened. But yeah, if you just want to beat Nergigante, just fucking look at whatever part of it is the biggest and whitest and just hit that. And then it'll just fucking fall over.
Hallelujah.
You'll spend most of the fight on its side, but you just beating the shit out of it. It's very funny. That's a fight where being very aggressive is very advantageous.
Well, I was still trying to learn its full moveset or understand it, so.
Yeah. And then, like, the other thing is that when it's got the thorns, when they're extended and they're still white or they're black, some of its moves will change to have extended hitboxes where it shoots thorns out. So the one where it smashes the wings into the ground and then, like, floofs them out, if it's got thorns on its wings that are extended, that'll shoot thorns out. The ones where it, like, smashes its palm down, if its arm's got thorns on it, that'll shoot thorns out as well.
Okay.
But the thing is, you can roll through that attack because it's got a really tiny hitbox.
You know everything about this game.
Yes. So you roll through the hitbox using your iframes, which are at the start of your roll. Mm-hmm. And then, while it's recovering, you just hit it, and then its arms explode and it falls over, and you beat the shit out of it.
Beautiful.
This is why Miranda says I brutalize this monster. Every single time it attacks me is an opportunity for me to attack it. With very few exceptions. The only thing I can't counterattack is when it does that really annoying thing where it walks behind you and it just kind of like nudges you. Not enough to cancel your attacks, but like that's the only thing where I can't like legitimately attack it. Like the recovery on that's so short that I can transition into another move super quickly. So I'm like, well, I don't want to commit to anything if you're not committing to anything.
Playing this like a fighting game.
Yeah, exactly. It's so easy to see Capcom's influence from like fighting games in the way that Monster Hunter's designed. It's crazy.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, did you fight anything else after that, or was that like?
God, no. I've been playing the other games.
Okay.
And packing.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm probably gonna say on Monster Hunter. I do plan on going back to it to finish it. I just have to find enough of their
Oh, that part's stupid.
Yeah, that part. I've just been doing the side stuff along the way, which is why it's been taking a little bit longer to even find one of extra Elder Dragons. What was your game?
That's a good question. I have already forgotten.
You have Stardew Valley and Pokémon Emerald.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so after watching Ian, Adventure Rules, friend of the show, Ian's been doing a Pokemon Fire Red randomizer on his Tuesday streams. That got me jonesing for the Game Boy Advance Pokemons. Because they're not good, they're just very nostalgic. So they remind me of a time in my life when I was less miserable.
I didn't know what the world was like.
Yeah, basically. So I do go back and I play Leaf Green. I did try and play Sapphire, I think earlier this year, and I thought it was dog shit.
You hated it.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm going to play the better version of Sapphire, the one that wasn't rushed out, the one that actually had an extra year of development, Emerald.
Yeah, that's the third release, when they always used to do that.
Well, that was fundamentally, they had more time. There's a couple of different...
Well, I mean, they did that for generations 1 through 4, and then they stopped.
Yeah. Well, they kind of did it in 5, but kind of it again in 7.
Yeah, fair.
I guess for context for people who don't know what Jason and I are both talking about, so Nintendo's systems have had notoriously bad online support since, forever. Before they even had the ability to patch games, they did what was akin to, how Capcom used to do re-releases of old Street Fighter games. So you have Street Fighter 2 has been released 400 different times. That's what Pokemon re-releases are. So Emerald is Sapphire and Ruby, but enhanced in some way. Mm-hmm. I think of the enhanced games that aren't just completely new games, Black and White 2 is kind of a completely new game. I think Platinum probably does the best job of enhancing the original release.
Well, you hated that game.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Like, Platinum is awesome, and Diamond and Pearl are complete dog shit. They're fucking terrible games.
Yeah, the original release.
Do not try and fight me on that. You are wrong.
That's coming out in a week or so.
Yeah, and it's going to be complete dog shit because it's like a 1-to-1 port. Emerald, though. I played through Emerald. It still has all of like the same dog shit pacing issues that Sapphire and Ruby have. And playing it again now and thinking a little bit more about how the game is structured and laid out, examining bits and pieces of it a lot more in depth, really brings into sharp focus how shitty Generation 3 is. I know I already said that, but like, I actually finished the game this time.
So now you have a bit more of a leg to stand on.
Yeah, it's just like very bad in a number of areas. The pacing's all over the place.
So much water.
Okay, I know that it's a meme, but she's right.
I'm not disputing you. It is.
As soon as you get access to Surf after the 5th gym, you spend the majority of the rest of the game on water. And the water is 100% random encounter area, which is awful. It's so bad. You have to just like walk around with repels all the time, because if you don't, you'll just get bombarded by a bunch of low-level tentacles the entire game. It's so stupid.
It'd be slightly enhanced with a randomizer.
Maybe. The pacing in general is very all over the place. I like in the newer games that it's kind of like route, boss, route, boss, route, boss. It's very consistent, so you do some training and then you fight a new boss, and you do some training and you fight a new boss. You can just go hours sometimes without fighting a new boss, and you'll fight like 2 right back to back. Mm-hmm. Like the first gym leader has like a bit of a, like it's quite a bit of a run up to it, because you go through like the tutorial and then the opening few hours, and then you get to the boss and you fight the boss. Then you do like barely anything, and then it's the second gym leader. And the second gym leader is like way the fuck stronger than the first gym leader. So you're like, what the fuck? But then I found out that if you just like chad your way through the cave and you just deal with the darkness without having to get like the second gym badge and get flash, you can just leave that island and just come back later. You have to fight Brawly before your dad will let you fight him at the 5th gym. So you can get as late as beating Flannery and then go back and kick Brawly's ass.
That's kind of nutty.
I basically got to the 3rd gym and was like, all right, doubled back and fought Brawly after that, because I was like, no, we're not doing this. I'm not grinding in this cave against level 9 Zubats for 4 fucking hours.
I never knew that. That's cool.
Yeah. And then I went back to Mauville after that, and then fought some more training. And then it's like first gym leader, and then it's like immediately the second gym leader. I ended up spacing it out by skipping it for a while. And then normally there'd be a huge gap between the 3rd gym leader, like an okay-ish side, like I'd say a kind of similar to what the first, nothing to the first gym was, to get from the 3rd to the 4th. And then you can immediately go challenge the 5th gym. Maybe one new area to explore, and like that's it.
Well, that's because it's like the 3rd town you go to.
Yeah, and then afterwards you get access to Surf, so there's a shitload of new areas you can explore, or you can just go straight to the gym leader. Like, so you can make it either really long or really not long. Your choice. And then the 7th gym leader, there is an enormous gap between the 6th gym leader and the 7th gym leader. And then once you fight the 7th gym leader, you go off and deal with the evil team a little bit, and then it's the 8th gym leader. There's just like a lot of like huge gaps in there, and then there's like non-existent gaps in other spots, and it's really weirdly paced. It's also super weird. So people who are not familiar with Pokemon, whenever you fight a gym leader, they have like a signature move, and after you finish the fight, they reward you with a badge to show that you won, and they give you their signature move so that you can teach it to one of your Pokemon.
Yeah, the TM.
Precisely. The TM list for Generation 3 makes no sense with the gym leaders they chose to put in Sapphire and Ruby. The TM list actually works a lot better with the Gen 1 remakes. The moves you get from some of the later gym leaders are super fucking weak. You have no reason to use them. For example, by the time you beat the 8th gym leader, he's a water specialist. He gives you Water Pulse. There's 2 water TMs in the game. There's Water Pulse and there's Rain Dance. He gives you Water Pulse. It actually does damage. Rain Dance doesn't do damage. By the time you get access to Water Pulse, you have Surf, Dive, and Waterfall already. Not only do you need to use those 3 moves to navigate through the world, all of them are stronger than Water Pulse.
Yeah, a lot of HMs in that
You
one.
have no reason to teach any Pokemon this move. This move is super fucking weak.
Who was your HM slave? Zigzagoon?
I didn't have one. I just distributed them throughout the team.
I always made Zigzagoon.
I mean, they got 4 move slots. I gave each person like 1 dog shit move, and it was fine. And then like I had 2 water Pokemon on my team, so that's typically what I end up doing in these games because there's so much water-related HMs. So one of them will be Surf, and then one of them has Dive, and then when I unlock Waterfall, I get rid of Dive and I put Waterfall on that Pokemon instead. Done that for years now. So, like, in the Gen 1 remakes, you get Water Pulse from Misty. She's the second boss in the game. At that point in the game, that's like a really good move to give you because you haven't gotten access to Surf yet. You don't get access to Surf until after you've beaten the 5th boss.
Right.
So it makes sense to give you this weak-ass water move like really early on in the game instead of really, really late in the game when you have no reason to even have it. Winona's kind of the same way. She's the 6th gym leader. She gives you Aerial Ace. Again, it's super weak move. You should get it much, much earlier in the game. In the Gen 1 remakes, you do. You get it after you get it from the 3rd gym leader, but you can pick it up on the way to the 4th gym leader. So it's between the 3rd and the 4th. It's just a relatively middle-of-the-road kind of power move. Doesn't really make sense for the 6th gym leader to be giving you that as the reward. Brawly's reward of Bulk Up is an extremely powerful boosting move that you get really early on. Tate and Liza's got a similar boosting move. They're the 7th gym leader. That actually makes sense. And the most powerful TM reward that you get in the game comes from the 4th gym leader. Which is like, why is she the 4th gym leader then? She should be like the fucking 8th gym leader. She's got the most powerful move. Like, I don't understand.
Flannery being the last one.
Yeah, like she should be. Overheat's an absolutely nuclear attack. I don't understand why the 4th boss in the game gives you one of the strongest TMs in the entire game. That's so weird. But yeah, it's just like in Generation 1, the TMs that the bosses give you make way more sense. Like you get Rock Tomb, which is a fairly weak move from the first boss, which is the same in, like you get the Rock Tomb from the first boss in Emerald as well. Then you get Water Pulse, which is a kind of middle-of-the-road move from the second one. You get Shockwave from the third one. That's another middle-of-the-road move.
Yeah.
That's also the third one in Emerald. For the 4th, you get Giga Drain, which is, again, another middle-of-the-road move. Then for the 5th boss, you get Toxic, which is a very strong move. It's very useful into the late game. 6th gym leader is Calm Mind. That's useful into the late game. The 7th gym leader is Fire Blast. Extremely strong move. Great in the late game. The 8th gym leader is Giovanni, who gives you Earthquake. One of the best moves in Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. The TMs in this game work really well for this, but they don't work at all for the game that this TM list is from. All the Gen 3 games share the same TM, like I guess the Gen 4 games do as well. It makes no sense why these moves were... I just don't understand. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, the game that these moves should have been balanced for uses them worse than a game that just, like, implemented them because they already exist. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And then, like, the other thing is that, so, like, why is the 8th gym leader a water gym? Well, probably because, like, 35% of the Pokedex is water Pokemon. Because 50% of the world is water in Hoenn because of the game's theme.
Yes.
Like expanding the land versus expanding the sea kind of thing. So because of that, there's a lot of sea, and most of the Pokemon that can swim are water Pokemon. The back half of the game is loaded with water Pokemon, and the Pokedex is as well. And it's a super stripped down Pokedex
200.
as well. Yeah, just 200 Pokemon out of the almost 400 that existed at that point, and the majority of them are water Pokemon. But because of that, you end up with, like, most of the other types being really underrepresented. So it's like, well, Flannery can't be the 8th gym because there's not even, like, 5 fire Pokemon in this region. I think there might be if you include the fire starter, but this was still when they were, like, really anal about giving gym leaders the starter Pokemon. So you, like, don't see the starter Pokemon, like, at all in this game outside of, like, rival battles. And whichever one you chose.
Yeah, it always makes me disappointed when you don't see at the beginning of your Pokedex all those entries. It's just empty.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I want to at least see them without trading. I hate that. Especially,
I hated that as well. Like, I'm glad they got rid of this shit.
As a completionist, you just look at the list and you're like, well, I'm already starting off on a bad foot.
Yeah, no kidding. The other thing that's really weird is that, like, they could have totally had a Poison Gym Leader in this game, or a Poison Elite Four member in this game, and they just chose not to. There's a ton of Poison Pokemon in this game, and there's no fucking Poison boss. There's also a ton of Grass Pokemon, no Grass boss either. But what we do have? A Ghost Elite Four member, even though there is 3 Ghost Pokemon in this region. So she has duplicates of 2 of her team members. And there's an Ice-type Elite Four leader as well. You know what? There's 2 fucking ice Pokemon in this region, but she has them both. So it's like, there's just like a ton of just...
oversight, yeah.
There's just like a ton of small things that you're like, how the fuck did they not see this? Or maybe they did and they just didn't care. I don't know.
We don't have good designs for our ghost Pokemons. Well, fuck it.
It's just so weird to me is that they just make it like one of the final bosses you fight, and it's like, oh, they're just like the entire team is just a bunch of duplicate Pokemon. It's like, that's wild. I mean, like that happened in previous generations. Don't get me wrong, but it was usually like it was never like to this degree. Lance, pretty good example. He has 2 Dragonairs and a Dragonite, or in silver and gold, he's got 3 Dragonites. Okay, that's literally the only dragon Pokemon that exists. Well, I guess Kingdra existed at that point, but Kingdra was Karen's ace, so they didn't want to double up that way. But it's like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, but as they expanded out the types and had more shit available, it's just really weird to me that like, there's just not enough Ice Pokemon in this game to support an Ice-type Elite Four member, or Ghost Pokemon to support a Ghost-type Elite Four member. Like, if you had Gengar and Mischievous in this game as well, okay, cool, then there's 5 unique Pokemon. If you got, like, Cloyster, Lapras, Dugong, if, like, okay, sure, then, like, the Ice-type person makes sense. But it's like, why the fuck didn't you just use, like, one of the types that actually had stuff? And you even see that with, like, Steven in Sapphire and Ruby. He's supposed to be a Steel-type trainer. Half his team isn't even Steel-type. There is enough Pokemon in this game for him to have 5 unique Steel Pokemon. He doesn't. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I've seen them do it better, both before and after. So it's just like so weird to see this just, what feels like a huge kind of misstep. And then like the other thing that's somewhat weird, and this is something I'm not really willing to hold against the game, but like in Platinum, they expanded the Pokedex, and they also reordered some of the gym leaders and changed up their teams. And they didn't really do that in Emerald. But they didn't really do that in Yellow or Crystal either, which were the Generation 1 and Generation 2 versions of the re-release.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, oh, okay, maybe they just it didn't dawn on them that, like, oh yeah, we can, like, make huge changes to this shit.
Well,
if
wasn't
we're
the whole
re-releasing it anyway.
Wasn't the whole thing with Platinum the fact that they added more Pokemon in because the base game just didn't have enough to support
The base game has 150 Pokemon. Keep in mind, this is 4th generation. By this point in Pokemon's history, there's like 500 of the fucking things. And there's only 150 in Diamond and Pearl. So in Platinum, there's like 200 and fucking like 60 of them. They expanded the shit out of the Pokedex. They added so much more, like, much needed variety. And they did fundamentally what Emerald probably needed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's really weird to me that they didn't adjust things at all or change what gym leaders were where, or I don't know. They kind of rebalanced their teams, but all that ended up doing was making Flannery a lot harder because she was already really hard by virtue of having a nuclear signature move, and basically every other gym leader in the game is easier, even though they have more Pokemon. Having more fodder Pokemon does not make a gym leader harder. And having like really weak signature moves late in the game also doesn't make the gym leaders harder. I also barely caught any Pokemon while I was playing through the game. Some people complain about how broken the economy is in like the newer games because like, oh, you can get so much money, and I'm like, I was loaded the entire time I was playing through this game. Honest to God. I was buying healing items too. I finished the game with like 200 grand in my pocket. That's with me buying a shitload of items to go through the Elite Four with because I didn't want to grind up my team, so I just went in with a level 45 team.
Nice.
Against the Elite Four in this game, which has Pokemon that are like almost level 60. I won. I just barely won, but I won.
Well, that's what matters.
Holy shit. I was saying to Ian on his stream, I got hit against the Ice Lady with sheer cold, 30% accuracy. It hit twice. I have never seen an Oko ever land before. Fucking landed twice. No hailing to assist Blizzard, 70% accuracy. That shit only missed once in the entire fight. Like, legitimately, I almost lost the fucking Elite Four run because of that fight. There's also an obnoxious number of trainers who have double team on their Pokemon in this game, and when the AI sees double team in a Pokemon's moveset, it uses double team repeatedly.
I will extend the playtime.
Yeah, I feel like that's almost why they're like, oh, this is to help justify Aerial Ace as being like not a dog shit move because it never misses. It's like, oh yeah, we'll give the player Aerial Ace, but we'll make sure that it's useful by making, like, every time a trainer has, like, double team as a move, the fucking Pokemon will just use it repeatedly.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure. And I guess the only other thing is that I played through the game, I used a team predominantly of Pokemon I don't typically use. So I had Breloom, Ludicolo, Armaldo, Grumpig, Swalot, and what the hell's Corefish's evolved form called? Crawdont. It was very interesting. That team lacks a lot of obvious coverage. But,
still won.
Yeah, I still won. Armaldo and Breloom and Crawdont were the big chads of that team. It is what it is. It's just, I enjoyed it for nostalgia's sake, but it's like a really bad game. Genuinely. Playing through it now reminded me of like all the times that I still play through Sonic Adventure 2, and that game's dog shit as well. But that game is more overtly dog shit. This game is dog shit. It's a lot less obvious unless you think about it. You go like, wait, why is this like this instead of like this? And why also this other thing? And why also this other thing instead of just being like fucking busted as hell where you can just go through the fucking floors and do all these like crazy skips. And I love Sonic Adventure 2. It's so broken in all the best ways. Absolutely awful, even if you look at it from the lens of when it came out. So yeah, that's Pokemon Emerald. I'm pretty sure I just complained about that game for 20 minutes straight. Jesus fucking Christ. Why am I so angry about everything? Jason, what's your next game?
I guess speaking of angry, no, I'm not speaking of angry. Hades. I make that joke because I hate that I love this game.
Hold on, what? Can you elaborate?
What I mean by that is I was kind of getting frustrated at certain runs because I was getting to the last boss and was unable to manage, like, I don't know, like 5 to 6 or 7 runs in a row where I was getting to his second form and just not being able to beat him. But I kept coming back.
Yeah, it's because it's fun.
Yeah, no, I know. But you know how like when you get to a certain point, you're just like, oh, I'm not progressing any farther. This is kind of getting annoying.
No, I typically take a break, think about it, come back, and then kick the game's ass.
Well, I mean, that's what I ended up doing. But so yeah, no, Hades is excellent. It is a really good game. Thank you for buying that for me, by the way.
No problem.
I mean, I don't know what more to say that you haven't already said before, but yeah, there's a lot of character here. The music's always on point with what's going on. I do love the bosses on each floor. They're well designed, well varied, especially the first 2 that I've fought more frequently than the others. I like how the Furies change over time and the Bone Hydra changes over time to different forms.
I feel like they have more radical changes than Theseus and Asterius do.
Seems like it.
Like Meg, Tiz, and Electo, they have very different movesets and attack patterns based on which one of them you get. And then with Lerny, the primary head's attack patterns will change based on the color of its horns.
Yeah,
and
but
then
the stomping is the same.
Kind of. The stomping is bigger on the blue one.
Oh.
Because that's its thing. It stomps. Its hitbox on the stomp is actually wider.
I didn't know that.
Now you do.
I never have any problems with the first 3 bosses anymore.
Yeah, well, that comes with practice. And then, like, for Theseus and Asterius, it's the same fucking thing. It's just that when Theseus is at his last 50% of his health, what god power he invokes will change.
Yes, I do like that.
Did you... Well, I guess if you haven't figured it, I'll tell you. Whenever you're playing, he will always get a god that you do not presently have.
I assumed that. I made that assumption.
So,
but I didn't know if it was concrete.
If there's a particular one you hate dealing with, you know how when you give the different gods the friendship nectar and they give you a trinket that lets you summon them into a run, if you didn't naturally get them in your run, if there's a particular one you hate fighting against when Theseus has it, you can take that in, force them into your run, and then you'll prevent him from having access to that particular god ability.
That's a very clever method.
I fucking hate when he gets Athena. Because it just makes him invincible if he's ever within the circles. And I'm like, ooh, I dislike that immensely.
Oh, I haven't had that one yet. Shit.
No, Athena's is hands down the absolute worst one for him to get. It just prevents your DPS, so it elongates the fight.
Oh, God, no, I haven't had that one before. I don't think I have.
Artemis is probably the easiest one to deal with, but I like having Artemis's boons, so...
Yeah. No.
Her pattern's super easy to dodge with Theseus. It's actually
big
hilarious.
Numbers.
Yeah, well, that's just it. He can get crits on you if he's got Artemis, though. I'm not going to say that he's one-shot me, but he's gotten very close to one-shotting me when I got hit by a straight Artemis attack. That's no bueno. But at least her pattern's very easy to dodge because it can potentially wipe you.
I didn't have much of a problem with the first 3 bosses. I'd get to them the first time, lose, and then the second attempt, I would win.
Jesus Christ.
There's just Hades that, like, I didn't have that same pattern, which probably why I was getting frustrated.
Yeah, I was going to say, I smoked Meg. I smoked Lerny. I think I lost to Meg maybe once. I beat Lerny the first try, absolutely destroyed him. I got stonewalled so bad at Asterius as the mid-boss in Elysium, and then when I got to the final fight, it's like, oh, I had to fight him again, and he's got a fucking another guy fighting with him? Well, fuck me, I guess. That shit took me forever to beat. When I finally beat them, it only took me like a couple more runs to get to Hades and then beat him.
I didn't have that much of a problem with the third fight. I think I've lost to them once on one round where I was kind of sleepy already, so...
I had such a fucking hard time doing it. I don't anymore. Some of my more recent runs, I have accidentally killed Theseus before Asterius while doing DPS to Asterius, and then he dies like 2 seconds later. So like that's what my runs now look like. But
Asterius is the bull, correct?
yeah, Asterius is
Yeah,
the
that's
bull.
who I always go after first.
So if you don't, you give Theseus his god powers at 50%, and Asterius is still running around.
Yeah.
Which you don't want
I
that.
know. I
really don't
made
want
that
that.
assumption as soon as I was looking at the fight, going, "All right, this would be bad if I didn't destroy him first."
Yeah, and if you got Asterius as your mid boss in Elysium, he also starts to fight with
Less
25% of his health
Yeah,
missing.
I know. Yeah.
In general, I find with the Hades fight, the first phase is a lot harder because he has ads. The second phase is mono a mono, so I think it's very easy. I got a couple of different videos on Twitter where it's showing me just completely deleting Hades' second health bar in like 10, 20 seconds.
I haven't gotten there. For the most part, I haven't just been going for like a strategy run yet. So where I plan everything out, I'm just still experimenting.
That's just it. In the runs where you're still getting like random crap and you're going like trying to just like, oh, what is all of the stuff that I can get? I find typically you'll have a lot less success. When you try to make a build and focus your skills in on a certain subset of stuff, your success rate in the game will go through the fucking roof.
Yeah, I have a feeling that, but I just don't want to learn new ones and stuff like that. Fill out the prophecy list.
Yeah, when I play the bow, which I got a 32 heat run on, I only build it to one of two ways. So I'll either build it for Dionysus or I'll build it for Artemis on the special. That's it. I will try not to take anything on the attack. I will try not to take anything on the cast because I'm never going to use the cast. If I can get Athena's dash, I will take it. If I can't, I won't take anything on the dash. And then I will pick up palms repeatedly and put them onto the special. The reason for that is I'm trying to take as few skills as possible so that whenever I do a palm, it always brings up the special so I can keep dumping palms onto it because that's where all of that damage is going to go.
Right. No, that makes sense.
I do something similar with the Poseidon blade on the sword. That's the one where when you use your AoE, it pops all of your casts back out of the thing that you hit.
Oh.
So I'll get...
I don't think I've seen that ability yet.
That's an alteration of the sword. So there's like different versions of the different weapons.
I haven't gotten to that part yet.
Yeah, so I like playing the Poseidon version of the sword. So I'll grab Athena's cast for that, because it's like the strongest cast. And then I will grab Artemis, thing that forces Artemis into the run, and just get exit wounds. That's the strategy. And then just buff the shit out of the damage on the cast. You just cast in the stuff, and then you use Q, and then exit wounds, and you just watch Hades' health go down in 20 seconds. I got that strategy several runs in a row because the game gives you the tools to force strategies, which is great.
Yeah.
That's 100% what I mean by when you know what you want to do, it's very easy to do it, and then your success rate will go through the roof.
Yeah. The build that I had for my first successful run with the sword, because I convinced myself I'm going to do each weapon one by one, and I'm not going to experiment with the other ones. I'm just going to do one by one, one at a time.
I kind of did something similar. I got it in my head. I'm like, I'm going to beat this fucking game with a sword.
I did that, yeah.
If I just used the bow, I probably would have beaten Hades so much faster, but I was like, no, I'm going to do it with the sword.
So yeah, I did it with the sword. I got the weapon upgrade that makes it the chop that's base 90, because none of the other ones were good, and I was convinced that this was...
Oh, the chop is so fucking hilarious.
Yeah, but I was convinced that this wasn't going to be a successful run.
Oh, no. The chop does so much damage. You just clapped him.
No, it does, but then I got another... one of the weapon upgrades, and they were all shit except for the one that lowers my health by 60%.
Oh, you had the
heals.
one... Yeah, the cursed blade?
Yeah, but I was like, no, that's not a good combination with this chop.
The fucking cursed blade? That's actually legit.
No, it was good. I was like, oh, with the chop blade, I'm only healing 2 damage each chop instead of like a combo, like 6 health. I know, I'm just saying. But that ended up being my successful run.
Sit there, spam chop the entire time.
I didn't have it nearly as powered up as I wish. My overall attack, I wish it was a little bit stronger than I had, but the run I had was just kind of garbage. I just happened to get lucky. I think I only used 2 of my return from deaths.
Oh yeah.
And I had equipped the third one that you get for one of the trinkets. So I was like,
Oh,
well,
right,
I
yeah,
might
because
as well.
the third Death Defy is super fucking expensive, right?
Yeah, I hadn't afforded that one yet. So.
Yeah, the one you get from Nyx's mirror is very, very expensive. It's funny because, like, at first you're like, man, this is going to be the biggest thing that gets me through the run. And then when you get later in the game, you're like, it's like you never use Death Defies, like, at all. Or they happen when when you're not being, like, careful and you make, like, a mistake and it's like, okay.
You just be super aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. So you just play super aggressive the entire time, but then you find out that playing super aggressive is actually a better way to stay alive.
No, I learned that, yeah.
Yeah, you just end up, like, not dying all day, unless it's, like, by accident. It's like, okay, I have 3 of these fucking things, so I'm sure I'll be fine. Usually are.
Yeah, no, I was.
So you've how many runs have you finished now?
I've done 2 weapons so far. Did the sword, then moved on to the spear. You said you hate the spear, so...
I fucking hate the spear
Glad I
so
finished
much.
that
It's such
one.
a piece of shit.
I finished that one straight afterwards, but the real kicker for that one is I got Athena's dash, the one that does the reflect.
Oh, double S tier skill. Easily the best skill in the game.
I had not gotten that one yet, and then I was like, ooh, a new dash. Oh my god, this one is so important for any of my runs.
It adds like 5 extra iframes onto your dash. Easily the best ability in the entire game.
Yeah. And then I looked up a lot
The
of
only
memes
other
on it.
ability that's even remotely as good is the one where Hermes gives you extra dashes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hands down, those are the 2 best abilities in the game.
That one pulled me through that one. I had no idea how to use that weapon at that. Yeah, not like it's hard to use those weapons at all. If there's only so many combos, but
The spear's not hard to use. It's just got really unremarkable damage. The throw mechanic with it is completely fucking worthless.
I have to agree with that. I didn't like the special.
Yeah, it's the special.
Yeah, that was the special.
The special on it's fucking dog shit.
Yeah, I did get the weapon upgrade that made it so I had 3 spears instead, like a trident instead.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That really
Basic attack,
helped
right?
too. It's like I can attack you. Yeah, I can attack Hades anywhere now.
That's the thing. It's like the spear's really good at attacking one thing, but it's really bad at it when you get like dogpiled. And the idea is you're supposed to use your right click, or sorry, I don't know what the heavy attack is. I was using the mouse for mine, so I was using light. It was the left click and right click was the heavy attack.
Oh yeah, I was using.
You're supposed to use like the heavy attack doing AoE damage, but it's so fucking slow that it's just not useful.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when you're being like dogpiled, it'd be better if the light attack was the AoE and the strong attack was the fucking single target. If they just like reversed how that weapon works. I just find it very unremarkable, unreliable, and just like it's not good at anything. It's just kind of bad at everything.
Yeah, it was funny to have that weapon in the poison rooms at the end, just before
it's very good at dealing with them.
Yeah, it was just like I was like I can just sit here and attack.
Yeah, but the bow is better at doing that than the spear
I haven't.
is. So.
That's the weapon I'm gonna try next. Unfortunately, got somewhat sick because my downstairs neighbor is a fucking nightmare of a demon heating up the apartment, so I was pretty much sick on the following day, and then...
So you were playing Hades in hell.
The night before I was, and I couldn't sleep.
You can't see my face, but I just made the big dumb grin face.
I know.
When the Mona Lisa one back in whatever the Genshin episode was.
But yeah, no.
That's cool, though. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a game that I have recommended to basically everyone. Megan, played Hades, for fuck's sake. Yeah,
no, it is a great game. It'll definitely on the short list for the game of the year.
Oh yeah,
probably.
That's coming up, isn't it? We're gonna be doing that in a couple of fucking
relook
weeks
at my
now, aren't we?
list. But I got a handful that I know of. Yeah. I think the other component that I really liked about this game was, it's got a lot of character, as you've very blatantly said before.
I feel like that is the biggest reason why this game is so universally loved. It's got a really strong gameplay foundation for people like me or Maz who prefer playing games to play games. Mm-hmm. But if you're more into story, like Ian, or like I guess you're kind of
I'm in the
both. Yeah, he really seemed to enjoy it because of the character interactions, right? There's something for every type of player. If you want to play a really, really well thought out, very mechanically involved action roguelike, you get that. If you want to play a game with all sorts of character, you got that. If you like to have your dessert with beer, then you get to do that too. Although I do actually like having sweets and beer at the same time, even though those flavors do not go together very well.
No, they do not.
Bitter and sweet.
The one thing I will say is, because I've gotten to Hades so quickly, because I got to Hades in probably my 4th or 5th run through, I'd say. And I don't really get to see him a lot in like the office chair that much, so I haven't been able to interact with him very much.
Until you finish the story, there's not much to interact with him.
Oh, okay.
He mostly just insults you.
No, I know, but I want those insults, but he's always gone. He's always coming back after he kills me.
He insults you in the final fight as well, so it's fine.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, most of the time he just like mocks you. He's like, oh, you tried to escape and died again. Maybe you should just give up like you give up at everything, Zagreus. That's the kind of shit he says most of the time when you're not. He's actually in his chair.
I do like the reasoning for the loop.
Oh, that's the smartest ass thing I have ever seen.
It makes a lot more sense because I was like, oh my god, that's why.
Yeah, it's like we explained a gameplay mechanic in the game. The way we've chosen to do that isn't super ham-fisted or forced. It actually makes sense. It's like, wow, you brilliant motherfuckers.
Yeah, I will agree. That made
it doesn't feel as video gamey as most like, oh, we have to explain this mechanic that makes no sense in the context of the story. Here's an explanation that's very unsatisfactory.
You have been selected by God to retry the game because we said so.
Yeah, which is like, I find with most roguelikes, it makes more sense for it to just be like, no, this is a video game. You know you're playing a video game for a video game, so like, you're just going to come back after you die. Like, don't worry about it. I don't mind that kind of stuff, but I'm not as motivated by story and lore and also the stupid fucking bullshit. So
speaking of games that don't
have any fucking story or lore,
yeah,
nice jumping off point. I have continued playing Stardew. I'm into year 2.
I mean, it has at least a bit of story. That's why I kind of paused.
Kind of,
that, but light.
I finished the community center.
Oh, that's good. You have the greenhouse. Huzzah!
Yeah, well, I got the greenhouse well before finishing the community center.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was waiting mostly on the bundles that up your friendship with certain people.
Gotcha.
A few things from that were a pain in the ass to get.
Have you gone to the island?
No, I have not gone to the island yet. I know that that's a thing. I haven't talked to Willie yet to get the boat to go to the island. I'm still working on some stuff in my actual farm, so I don't want to like fuck off from it to have to build up a new farm when I'm still trying to work on a few different resource-based things for my main farm.
Gotcha.
Because I'm not achievement hunting. I was achievement hunting the first time I played through this game, so there's certain things I did specifically for achievements, and because of that, certain aspects of my playthrough weren't super optimized. I have already made more money on my current farm than I did in my previous one, and I'm like 2 seasons ahead of that in the current farm. Previous playthrough of Stardew, I was in winter of year 2, and I'm in summer of year 2, and I just at the tail end of summer, and I've already made more money. I feel like also there's a bunch of things that have been added into the game, small things that have made it easier for that.
I would agree with that. I remember playing with Sarah and thinking that this was a lot quicker to get stuff done.
Yeah. One of the things that's kind of weird, how much of it have you played?
Sarah and I played probably I think a year's worth in co-op.
Okay, so you are familiar with the animals then?
I believe so, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You know how with the coop, you start off with the basic coop and you can only have chickens?
Yes.
And then you upgrade it and then you can have chickens and ducks?
Yep.
And then you upgrade it again to the final one and you can have chickens, ducks, and rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
Which of those animals would you expect to have the highest yield?
I'd say rabbit.
Because it's the last one you unlock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's the chickens.
Yes, the chickens and the ducks are pretty good.
The chickens are better than everything else you can get in the coop. It's really strange. And the cows, which are the first barn animal you unlock, are similarly... They're not the best, but they're the most consistent. I will explain that in a second. The big thing that makes the chickens better is like the chickens' products are worth the least when the quality is the same. However...
The more the animals like you, the higher the quality of the egg will be.
Yeah, well, so the quality of a duck egg, typically instead of selling the eggs, you turn them into mayonnaise. It's like an artisan product, and that makes it worth more money. That just takes a bit of extra time to convert it over to something different. And the rabbits don't give you eggs, they give you wool, and you turn that into cloth. The quality of the animal's product does not affect the artisan product except with the chickens. And that's why the chickens are better. Because you can throw like a gold or a iridium quality duck egg into the egg converter and it will still produce basic quality duck mayonnaise. And you can take iridium quality bunny wool and put it into the cloth spinner, and it will still produce a piece of cloth. But the chicken eggs, when they become gold quality, like when they're a big chicken egg and they're like silver quality or higher, you put them into the converter and it poops out gold mayonnaise. And gold mayonnaise is worth more than literally every other product because it's got the gold quality, like the quality of the product makes it worth more. The only way to raise the quality of the other, well, I don't know about cloth, but to raise the quality of a duck mayonnaise is to put it in an aging casket, and that's a huge waste of time because that's where you put wine, because wine is worth more. It's just mind-boggling. I got rid of, like, once I finished the community center bundles, I got rid of all of my other animals that weren't chickens because the chickens just make more every day. I guess the other thing that adds to that is that, like, not only on an individual level, the gold quality mayonnaise from chickens is not worth more than the duck mayo is. Like, ducks only produce eggs every other day, and chickens produce eggs every day. When you take 2 gold mayonnaise from the chicken, it's worth more than 1 not gold mayonnaise from the duck, right? And, like, the rabbits only produce wool once every 4 days.
Yeah.
So it's even worse for the rabbits. Like, the chickens completely annihilate the rabbits.
Yeah.
And then with the barn, it's the same kind of deal. You have goats, they can only be milked every other day. So the cows that you can milk every day, they produce gold cheese. 2 gold cheeses is worth more than a single goat cheese, which the goat cheese isn't affected by the quality of the goat milk for some reason. The shearing the sheep, it's same every 4 days. It's worth less than the gold quality cheeses. Now, the one exception is that you can get pigs in the barn. They are worth more than cows, but that has a huge asterisk beside it.
In winter, they're useless.
And when it rains, they're useless, yeah. They dig up truffle mushrooms, and you take truffle mushrooms and you convert that into truffle oil. Truffle oil is worth like 5 fucking cheeses. Maybe 4.
A lot more, yeah.
It's worth a lot, and they can dig up 2 a day. It's random. They'll always dig up like 1, but they can sometimes dig up 2. And if you have the forager skill, that gives you like a 25% chance to double when you pick up a forageable item. There's a chance that every time you pick up the truffle mushroom, it'll duplicate itself.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick up potentially like 4 of these fucking things from 1 pig. And that's like a lot of money all at once. The only problem is that they have to be outside to dig up truffle mushrooms, so they are completely unusable in the winter, because they will not go outside in the winter, and they will not go outside in the rain. So if you get a lot of rain, you're fucked.
Sarah always sells them in the winter.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually might be a half-decent way of doing things. But yeah, you keep cows for consistency, and you keep pigs, because they're just worth a shitload during ideal situations. With goats, then? No, I got rid of my goat once I did. I got rid of I didn't even buy a sheep because I already knew the sheeps were useless. I remember them being useless. I got the goat and I was like, oh, this is the same fucking thing as the duck. Once I got the items for the community bundles, I got rid of it. So yeah, I just got a couple of cows and some pigs in my barn, and I have an army of blue chickens in my hen house.
I believe that there are other animals that you can get once you go to the island. I haven't gone over there myself on Sarah's playthrough.
I'm aware that there's some new stuff because Miranda said there was some new stuff that I haven't gotten to yet. There's also, once I finish the community store, the Joja Mart, like the door's been busted, so I can go in there. I haven't investigated that yet, but that's a thing. Oh. So I'm finally at the point where I have gotten through most of the content I was already familiar with, plus the quality of life changes that have happened to it. So I'm actually like really hitting the new-ish content now. That's exciting.
Indeed.
So I made a concerted effort to befriend Carolyn, who I hadn't really befriended before. I'm working on Jody, who I just kind of ignored in my first playthrough. Flavio, I didn't even talk to him like at all. I have him at least capped up to the point where like the eligible single people, you can get them to 8 hearts. You can't get them to 10 without dating them, but I got him at 8. That's Elliot for people who can't piece that together. I call him Flavio because he looks like a Flavio. And those are like kind of the big ones who I didn't know. Oh, and Harvey. Harvey's another one who I didn't know shit about, and I'm starting to. I have him maxed. I've seen like one of his events because I didn't realize that I had to go into the doctor's office to see like all of his events because his apartment is above the doctor's office. So I'm like, oh, I guess I should do that. But yeah, it's been really interesting to learn about these characters, so I kind of ignored. There's also something that I kind of want to write an article about. So like I first played this game in 2017 when I was. I don't know, early 20s. And now it's 2021 and I am late 20s. I'm closer to 30 than I am to 25. Let's go with that. I think I'm 28. 28 or 29, one of the two. I don't keep track of this shit. I don't need to. Until I'm 65, it doesn't matter. My age literally doesn't matter.
No.
So one of the things I'm noticing now, at the time, I was very appreciative of how the characters in this game, the eligible bachelors and bachelorettes, are a lot older than Harvest Moon. We kind of talked about that, our episode where Ian was on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of jokingly were like, oh yeah, we should date the moms. Unironically, that is how I feel playing Stardew Valley now.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the characters you can date are older than they are in Harvest Moon, they're all like, they're all late teenagers or early 20-somethings. And when I was an early 20-something, I thought, I'm like, okay, this is fine. But now that I'm a late 20-something, I'm like, man, these characters are all children. Like, so I'm like finding some of the older characters who I kind of just wrote off as being like frumpy old people. The first time I played through, I'm like, man, these characters are so much more relatable now.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's been the joke as I've been playing, because I talk with Miranda, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to steal Robin away from Demetrius, like. And she's like, you say that, but it's like one of the in-jokes in the community is that there's a mod that actually allows you to date. I don't know if you can date the male characters, but you can date Jody, Carolyn, and Robin in one of the PC mods for Stardew. So, and they have like a whole story about how they like get divorced with their husbands, which in Robin and Demetrius' case is a little unfortunate. There's times where they butt heads, but they have a really sweet relationship.
And you come in here as playing as God and going, no, you shall separate.
Yeah, with Kent and Jody, it's like the way that they write Kent just is not at all what his character's like at all. But they're like, oh, he like comes back from the war and he's just like so messed up. He like starts abusing Jody and that's why she divorces him. And it's like, what the fuck? No, he's like fucked up, but he's like not that fucked up. He's like got PTSD. He's just really sensitive.
They couldn't have just wrote like he died in the war, period?
No, because he's still there. He's still in the game.
Oh, okay. I don't know the characters all that well, clearly.
And then Pierre's easy because he's just a dick. So it's just like Pierre's just a dick. Okay. No one likes Pierre. It's fine. I was kind of like laughing as Miranda was explaining all this shit to me. It's very funny playing this game now. It's like be someone who's like older and closer to being like, like I said, I'm closer to 30 than I am to 25. This is very funny playing this game and finding the adult characters a lot more relatable. It's still, I appreciate that the relationship-based characters are, older than Harvest Moon, but I'm sitting here like, man, these are all children. Like, so that's the other thing. At least some of them are coded to like not feel as though they're early 20-somethings, though that does limit your selection. I am finding, through having interacted with all of them now instead of avoiding some of them, Flavio, he comes across as being older, but he's a bit of a dandy. Harvey, the doctor, is coded as coming across a lot more older. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's a doctor. He would have had to have been in like doctor school until he was in his late 20s. Emily, but she was originally an NPC who was turned into a dateable character. She's weird as fuck, but the way she's written, she comes across as being older. Shane, obviously, again, similar to Emily, he was an NPC character originally, and then he was made a dateable character, so that's why he comes across as older. And then Leah, she comes across as older. So there's like 5 dateable options if you want someone who feels like they are plausibly in their mid to late 20s, instead of somebody who is very clearly a 19-year-old. It's been very interesting returning to the game with that perspective, and I feel like that also might be why, when I played Honey Pop 2, even Honey Pop earlier this year, I didn't really think about it, but there was some of the characters that you date in that game. Being older now, I was kind of like, a little bit with some of them. And then in Honey Pop 2, the developer actually accounted for the number of years that happened between Honey Pop and Honey Pop 2, and made the character that many years older, and also made most of the people you date in that stage of their life. So you're dating mostly like late 20s in that game instead of a bunch of, fundamentally like a bunch of university students.
So keeping with the audience who played the original.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, so like if the audience is going to be like 5 years older, then let's make everything 5 years older. So they're probably in their like late 20s, early 30s. So let's make most of the dateable people in their like early 20s at late, like youngest, and then we'll put them as high as like their mid 30s outside of the MILF characters who are like in their fucking late 40s. I didn't even realize that until playing this, and now I've been thinking about that, and I'm like, man, is there a post here? Like I was talking about with Miranda, and what the hell did she say? She gave me a post title. I need more video game MILFs. That is the potential post title that Miranda gave me. after I talked with her a bit about it. So that's been a very interesting perspective that has nothing really to do with Stardew, but it's been very interesting to think about, like, oh yeah, in games with relationships, there's not as many like adult characters, or there's like not as many games out there with strictly adult focused relationships, or like adult characters as relationship options. There might be a short, rambly, incoherent somewhat coherent post about that before or after this podcast goes out.
All right, then. Thank you all for joining us this episode. You can follow this podcast on Stitcher, Anchor, Spotify,
Spoofy,
Apple, and on YouTube. You can follow myself at Javim Animation. That's JAVM Animation. There's probably not going to be art for a while. It's kind of packed away. So
I was going to say, you're in the process of moving, so your shit's not necessarily available.
Yeah. Your stuff, Steve.
You can follow me at FrostyLight on Twitter. That's where everything goes. But I'd much prefer if you checked out FrostyLight.ca, which is where my articles go. This past week, I was a lazy fuck and I wrote a list about the best games, probably, that I didn't play this year. Which is more or less just my shopping list for shit I want to pick up at the Steam holiday sale. And yeah, there might be some exciting stuff coming out. I don't know. I'm going through a bit of a thing right now with writing.
Going through the midlife crisis of writing.
Not really. And Instagram for art-related stuff. I don't have anything that's going to be going up on there at all recently. I'm working on a commission right now, and I don't post. It's for a Christmas card, and I will not post that until after Christmas has happened, because I kind of want my client to have exclusive access to the Christmas card they paid for Christmas. So,
Yeah.
though I don't necessarily there's a couple of in-jokes in this card, so I don't necessarily know if it'll work super well for anyone who want to steal it, but whatever. I don't know. It's something that I just do every year. I don't post Thomas's Christmas card commissions until after Christmas is over. So yeah, I don't know. I might have some other art stuff afterwards. I've been having a lot of fun, well, some amount of fun doing that, so I might fart around with a tablet and do something else.
Cool. Thank you all for joining us this episode, and stay frosty.